All right, family. You live with the general. Y'all already know what time it is, man. We're gonna have that fire this evening now. Want y'all to be, buckle in for a hell of a ride, man. We're gonna be talking about the curse of Canaan and the African slave trade. And so we have to look at how these early Europeans was using these perverting these biblical verses and chapters and to justify their wickedness, and but in a way also revealing the true legacy of these biblical characters, letting you know who they were, because they saw the Canaanites as being Negroes, looking in all these Jewish books and, in all these biblical dictionaries, where they saw the Canaanites as being Negroes. You see? And so then was their justification in enslaving our peoples in the Ma'afa, the transatlantic slave trade. You see? And a lot of these Negroes out here running, but we gonna chase you down, nigga. We gonna chase you down. I don't know who gonna get you first. Black Power or the Slave Patrol, but somebody on your ass. I'm gonna just let you know that. You know, uh, so let's jump right into Canaan. Let's get into Canaan. Who is Canaan? A lot of people don't know. They coming in. They're gonna come in. They gonna know the general is live. They coming in. Let's get on in here. Yeah, let's get on in here. Yeah, yeah. So Canaan was the son of Ham. He was the son of Ham, and he was also the brother of Egypt. He was also the brother uh of Ethiopia. That's right. Matter of fact, I think it's down. Where's Ham at? I need to bring that on down. I got to make this connection. I got to quit, keeping them so far apart. Matter of fact, I had the damn right here. Here we go. Here we go. So we need to see this. So Ham is the patriarch of the African tribes in the Bible. We understand that this is an esoterical book. It's not literal. Okay, so you can't take it as the literal history of African people. So that's my disclaimer. Okay, you should understand that this is an esoterical book, meaning it's written in allegory. So you have but there's truth embedded all through the book. But you got to have a teacher that can go in there and show you and lay it side by side with the literal history and prove that is right and exact. And you can do that. You feel me? And so one of the clear things that I see about the Bible that they wish they had never done was that Cush, Ethiopia, is the brother of Egypt. Now that right there is telling you something right there. There ain't no way you going in Ethiopia mean burnt face, and you gonna be brother with burnt face, and then Ham also means burnt, also mean black. And then you got some crazy Europeans that gonna tell you that Canaan was cursed black. Yeah, he already got a brother, Ethiopia, that's burnt, and his father was also. And so, they thinking we dumb. They didn't think you would go in there and find the definition and the true history of these biblical characters, which we have done, which we have done. And so you see that even Nimrod is the son of Ethiopia. Now, in the Bible, let us be clear that the Ethiopia that they are professing in the Bible is Sudan. It is referring to Nubia, okay, ancient Nubia, the mother of ancient Egypt, technically. They speak in a masculine sense, but a lot of times we speak in a feminine sense too. That Ethiopia is the great mother and Egypt is the great daughter. You see, is the great daughter. You feel me? And if you go up, into Punt, and around the Great Lakes region, that's great grandmama. That's great grandmama. You feel? Or no, that's great grandma. You going way up. You dealing with great grandmama of African people, or the great civilizations of the Nile Valley. And so Nimrod, as you see, let me see, am I in there clear? Let me see. Yeah, we're in there clear. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, yeah. That's Judaic. That ain't got nothing to do. That's Judaic. That ain't got nothing to do. That's their way of. See, you got to understand this esoterical. And then when you deal with the esoterical, that mean they editing. You know what I'm saying? They are editing, and when you see all these curses, this is an edit. That mean you being usurped out of your holy legacy. So they need some reason to usurp you. And so they're going to put even though you don't find it in the Bible, you don't find that in the Bible. That's Judaic racism. You feel me? You find that in the Talmud. You don't find that in the Torah. You don't find that in the Torah. You find that in the Talmud, which is one of the most racist books on the planet Earth. You feel me? One of the most racist books on the planet Earth. And so you even see right there Chaldea. Now that's where Abraham come from. And so that's showing you this is esoteric. I want you to understand. They letting you know where all of it originates. That is from the Cushite Egyptian bloodline. They ain't got nothing popping off. And so anytime you see a curse, that's an edit. That means they need a reason to usurp you out of that divinity, and then they take it for themselves. Well, God said, curse be Egypt. God said, curse, and that we would take over the land. And I ain't never heard no God say shit to me. I'm sick of y'all niggas talking about I talk to God. Well, goddamn it, if you talk to God, next time you talk to him, speed dial me on the 3-way. I want to talk too. I'm sick of this shit. I talk to God. Call God on the main line. I call God on the main line. It said, doo doo doo. This number is no longer in service. You see, that's what it said. Ain't no damn God picking up no main line. And you know that. These is men that's fabricating these lies to usurp your legacy. This is an edit. You see, this is an edit. So you have to be wary. That's why you need the teacher to show you the way. Nah. And so you see, all the great civilizations of the ancient world are Ethiopian. Chaldea, Assyria, Babylonia, Egypt, Ethiopia. That's it, man. Let's deal with that. All the great civilizations of the ancient world are Hamitic, Kemetic, Nubian, Cushite, Ethiopian. That's what it is, okay? And so now when you even look up here, see, I'm getting busy now. And you see right here, you see this is one of their own timelines. This ain't my timeline, this is their timeline. And they show you where and all the dates correlate to the biblical dates. So don't get mad. You can go right to your cemetery, excuse me, the seminary, I mean the cemetery school, and go get your chronology. And you will see right here, it says, now, take it in mind, Ham is supposed to be the father of Egypt, right? That's what it said. It said that Ham is the father of Egypt, of Cush, Ethiopia, and all of that. And then you look right up here, it give you the dates for Ham, born 2440 BC. That's what it says. Ham was born 2440 BC. He's supposed to be the father of Egypt and Cush, and you can look right up on the same timeline. This is their timeline. I didn't create this shit. And you can see the pyramid built and that's the Great Pyramid. That ain't even the Pyramid of Saqqara. This is the Great Pyramids at Giza, 2550, 2550. The pyramids are already standing. You see, and and so That's before Ham was even born. So how in the hell can Ham be the father of? But we understand that what they saying, that he's black, and they dropping esoterical science when you lay it next to literal history, and that date is really been tampered with. You look at them damn pyramids, and you already know you dealing with hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. Ain't no damn way you gonna start at no 20, even if you say that's when they ended it, or that's when they built the pyramid. That don't include all of the damn technological development and how many hundreds of thousands of years it would have took to develop the damn knowledge to even be able to finish it. So you know damn well that Egypt is older by hundreds of thousands of years of any mentioning of the Bible, because the Bible is really a AD book. Let's deal with that. The Bible is literally a AD book. Okay, you talking about the printing press? Ain't no mass production of the damn Bible until after like the 1500s, and there wasn't no mass production then because the European people were still illiterate. So really, the mass production of the Bible is a 19th century phenomenon, and people keep acting like this shit, or that they had Christianity and Islam way back then without the book. How the hell you know how to practice the shit if you ain't got the book? Make that shit make sense. So people be trying. That's why I don't dive in a swimming pool that ain't got no damn water in it. Y'all be wanting to dive into the book. No, I want to see when you got civilization to be able to write a damn book. When did you get language? If you ain't got no language and you ain't got mass literacy, and I wouldn't know if you had mass literacy, because you would have books everywhere, just like the Egyptians. They had mass literacy. They got papyrus and writings over every damn temple in Egypt. That proves mass literacy. And there's no need to, try to figure out what is, because it is. You don't have to figure out what is. The pyramid standing there. Now, you can lie on how it got there, but you can't lie on the fact that it's there. So, this is show and tell. And you can't come to show and tell with nothing to show. Okay? Real talk. So we showing that, that you have to understand this is an esoterical book and you cannot take it as literal. And so we looking at why they and they want to curse Canaan, because Canaan was always, sought after. Them people never had no land. Them people ain't never had no land. And so they was looking to seize land and claim it for themselves. And they knew that, Canaan, people don't understand when that flood was, coming down the Nile, that fertilizer and that water would even go into southern what you call Canaan. So it also helped fertilize even Canaan. People don't know that flood even went into Canaan. So that show you that it's still a part of the Nile Valley. How the extent of the flood shows boundary of the Nile Valley. If that flood can touch, certain land up in Canaan today, erroneously called Israel, then it is also an extension of the Nile Valley. Real talk. And so you see right here the Jebel site, which is Jebus, which is Jerusalem, Sidon, and you know that the mountain of God was in Jerusalem, named after an African named Jebus. And they don't have no problem continuing to say Jerusalem, even though they know it was named after a Canaanite, which they were commanded, and we about to look at it, not to, literally destroy them. And, this was God's command, blot them out, destroy everybody. And a lot of people don't know that even the Philistine people rooted for David. I rooted for Goliath. And in my story, Goliath stepped on David. You know what I'm saying? He steps on Philistine was from the bloodline of Egypt. So when you get to talking about the Raphaim and all of those giants that they said came from the sons of God. They were from the African bloodline. You know, they said that they were they came from the sons of God, the watchers. You know, they was from the African bloodline, and that's very significant, you know, as we tap off into this. Now, let me get down here to the Canaan part. Now, I got some maps now. Now, if you don't know, we'll take a little peek. You see what they call Palestine there. Let me look. See how it's looking up there. Okay, we see it. We see it. It's looking good. Yeah, so you see Jerusalem. That's so Palestine, it became Palestine. You see, when the pale man came in there, they call it Palestine, you know, from the for the pale man. You feel me? That came during the time of the Romans. You know, before that, what they call Gaza was Philistim, named after the Philistines, which came from Egypt. Okay. And even Crete in the Bible, the island of Crete up there was also in the lineage of ancient Egypt. Okay. And so they gave up too much information. And so everything that you see in yellow, what they call the Fertile Crescent, is actually the empire of the Cushite Ethiopia. That's facts. Babylon, that's Nimrod. Nineveh, that's Nimrod. The whole Mesopotamia. And it started in the south and it came north. You see, it started in the south and it came even what they call Arabia, Sheba, Saba, Dedan, you know, Rama, and all of those biblical, which represents, you know, the nomadic African tribes that even Midian, which would have been in north west Arabia. That's the Arab, you know, before the Arab. These was Ethiopian nomadic tribes. Many of what you see today in North Africa, period, not just northeast, but northwest, which are called the Bedouins or you know, those, you know, they Africans, but they do some of the trade, you know, the trading aspect going from city and nation to nation, especially from east to west. They, you know, do a lot of the nomadic trades, you know, tradesmen, you feel me? Carrying products from Egypt west, carrying products from Mali, Songhai, Ghana, and over there to Egypt, and taking and in the ancient world, bringing products from Babylon and Mesopotamia into what we know of as Canaan. And Egypt had technically taken over Canaan in the New Kingdom, so that was about 600 to about they to about 1600 BC to about maybe 1100 BC, they were in control of Canaan. You know, so it was an actual district of Egypt. So they were Egyptians at that time. It was a part of the empire. So they were actually Egyptians by, you know, nationality. You know, they were, you know, that I mean, you if you in the empire, then you fall under the dominion of the Egyptians. And so the Pharaoh was the Pharaoh also in Canaan, you know, and so the legacy is that all of this is us. Every damn thing that you see is us, all the way down to the tip of Arabia. You know, that's why we get to talking about them Persians, them motherfuckers over there. And if you look up there and see them mountains up there, that is the natural boundary between Africa and what you call Asia. When you talk about Zagros Mountains and Taurus Mountains and all of that, that is the boundary between Africa and Asia. So when you cross over them mountains and you get to the other side, that's considered Asia. Everything south of them mountains, that's Africa. So this is Northeast Africa. Be very clear of that. You see, be very clear of that. Now let's get down here. I want to drop this real quick because we got a lot of heavy stuff we dropping down, and I nobody and I got that right there. Y'all don't know about Cush Risatham. Wait a minute, do it. I don't even got his thing. And yes, it is right there. Yeah, y'all don't know about, and I'll talk about him later. This was one of the first kings that ruled Mesopotamia. A lot of people do not talk about him. Cush and Risathaim, king of Mesopotamia. He was the first he was one of the first kings that conquered the Israelites and took them into damn bondage. Yes, indeed. You see, king of Mesopotamia proving that the Mesopotamians was Cushites. And that Risathaim, that theme at the end very well meant that he was a giant. You know, he was a giant. When you get to Mizraim and Raphaim and Philistine, and you know, he was an Ethiopian giant king. And they don't talk about Nimrod also being recognized as a giant. You know, if you go into step two agent, you will see where they reference Nimrod as a giant. So these Ethiopians, and we talking about real giant shit. You know, you look out there today, they got this one guy out there, man. This motherfucker so tall, he don't even have to jump to dunk the motherfucker, man. This motherfucker 8 feet, he's over 8 feet tall. He don't even have to jump to dunk that motherfucker. He just take his arm up there, man, just put the motherfucker in there. Straight up. They got real, and so it's nothing to say 10 feet, 10 feet. It was motherfuckers 10 feet, and and just like, they just like a lot of the animals and shit, the elephants and shit was at least, 3 and 4 and 5 tons, even bigger than what they is today. But these motherfuckers have hunted the best of all the animals. They've hunted the best of all the animals. And so, you're breeding these species today with a much smaller species, at a much smaller size. And so let me get down here so we can deal with Canaan, and then we're going to tap out of here and we're going to tap back in. We got to tap over here on these Ethiopian, and we're going to talk about the old Mecca today. Yes, indeed. And so here we go. We're going to tap back, and we'll tap back out and say, curse be Canaan. Genesis 9, 25-7 say, curse be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be to his brothers, and really not his brothers, because they wasn't his brothers. But, they want to be your brother, but Shem and Japheth, they wasn't, these was just, and these are created creatures. This is an edit right here. When I say an edit, this is garbage. Ain't no God ever said, but they need to usurp our people in these areas to steal our legacy. So anything where you see a curse, that's an edit. That mean that we need to usurp them here. Give us a reason, because they're gonna ask, well, why are you in these people's land? Well, God commanded me to do this. Well, where is God at? He went on vacation and shit, and he said he'd be back in about 3 millennia. He'll be back. You know what I'm saying? So I'll let him know you call. I'll let him know you call. But but God command, that's an edit. That's an edit right there. So you just got to know in the program of creation, that's an edit. And so he said, and blessed be the Lord of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. So he ain't he ain't the Lord of Ham. He's the Lord of Shem. See right there, that's an edit. They want to be chose, even though they some barbaric. There ain't no more motherfuckers, no people in the Bible more barbaric than the motherfucking Israelites. They are barbaric. You know what I'm saying? The Africans was building the civilizations, and they still out there acting like savages. Even to this damn day, if you want to be frank. Yeah. And so, this is where, a lot of these Europeans use this curse right here to say that, and they said that we would, the Canaanites was Negroes, well, goddamn, if he's Negro, then the other ones is Negroes too, you see? And so they really, once you get to talking, you got their ass, And then I'm gonna do this one right here. This is and I be cracking their head right here because a lot of these motherfuckers talking about, do you watch these silly ass Hebrew Israelites that don't want no smoke with the general because they know I know nigga light years beyond any fucking thing that they talking about. And I would love to man squeeze the goddamn blood out of them. You feel what I'm saying? And so 1 Chronicles 2:155, and it talks about, and you see, and you can come down, these are the sons of Israel, but then when it get down to Judah, it says the sons of Judah, and Judah is the royal tribe of the Israelites. This is where they kings come through this line of Judah. You got you got Onan, you got Shelah, and these three. Listen, Bathshua, the Canaanite, bore to him. So his first 3 sons was born, was given birth to by a Canaanite. This is crazy. And these niggas talking about they don't deal with the Hermetics and this, that, and the third, and they matriarch, but they don't come through Bathshua. They come through Tamar, which is also a Canaanite. You see, she was also a Canaanite. His daughter-in-law, because his first son, heir, he was taken. He was killed by God. Nobody, God never say why he killed him, but I guess that's where you get the word error from, because he error, his heir, he's an error and shit. And so God just took him. That's what it said, just killed his ass. And so he was married to Tamar. And so Judah handed Tamar down to his second son, Onan, and God took his ass too, knocked off his first 2 sons. This is the damn bloodline of the Judah, the tribe of Judah. So they first 2, first in line to be the next head of the tribe got knocked off. And so Judah, he was very afraid to give his third son to her. And so, but she set his ass up at the end of the day, hid her face, and old Judah lay with his own daughter-in-law. That just show you. And she set his ass up. And so he had 2 twins by this woman, Tamar, the Canaanite. And so when you go in Jesus, you go in David, you go in Solomon bloodline, you will see Perez. So Tamar, the Canaanite woman, is the matriarch of the tribe of Judah. And they keep talking about they don't mess with no Hermetics. Them niggas is in a state of confusion. Real talk, them niggas is confused. Period. I don't know who taught them niggas the Bible. You know what I'm saying? But they need to give up. They need to throw that shit in they talking about into the garbage. Cause it don't make no motherfucking sense. They don't mess with the Hermetic. Motherfucker, every prophet y'all ever had children by Hermetic women, and vice versa. You lived in Canaan, you lived in Egypt for 420 fucking years. Joseph had his children by a Hermetic woman, an Egyptian woman. And then, it's crazy as hell. But anyway, family, they trying to steal our legacy. That's what's happening. But, long as the general is on the front line, and motherfucker, I can't be beat. I'm just going to be real. I'm not saying that because, motherfucker, bring it on, please. I'm back in the, you know what I'm saying? People ain't been seeing the general pull up. Nigga, I've been doing it, like I showed y'all the other day. I've been doing this shit over 40 years. Every time, I'm like Jordan, nigga. I took a couple years off, nigga. And, just freestyle my little, videos. But, nigga, once I pick the ball back up, nigga, y'all gonna remember, like, yeah, this the guy. You feel what I'm saying? This that guy. Yes, indeed. Ain't forgot shit. I done grew. I'm just chilling. I done grew tremendously. And anytime I pick that damn ball up at any given time, you gonna know, nigga, for real. And bear witness, any nigga out there, any one of y'all, when y'all ready, bring it on. because I'm gonna end your damn career. And that's real. This general, man, I want y'all to come on back. We got some more coming. We're gonna hit this button before. Oh, I got the order Melchizedek over there on Patreon. I did about a 30-minute video, and I'm doing the mystery system. And after I do about 2 or 3 more, and I'm doing that one tonight. So if you want to be in the house, and I'm gonna give you about 40 minutes, and I'm gonna give you, and we're gonna hit nothing but visuals. And so if you want to get your damn mind blown by, the avatar, then bring your ass on back. If you feel what I'm saying, hit that link, Patreon at the top of the chat, and come on over and get this work. Okay, let me see. I didn't go into my, man, get up out of here, man. Don't compare me to nobody, man. Please believe that. You feel me? Please. Don't do that. Don't speak my name in the same breath with motherfuckers. You feel what I'm saying? Real talk. All right, I'll see y'all in a minute. Black Power.